Hey, so I'm back from my gamer cave after ousting my dragon fetish to the whole world. But now that I've cleaned the gamer gunk off my mic and managed to get a few hits in on my arch nemesis, crippling anxiety, I'm ready to make another video. I've had a lot of video ideas that I scrapped because I didn't think they were good enough, so now I'm making this video out of pure desperation and rage at my own self-doubt. And this video in particular is about the Trails series. I love the Trails series. It's one of my favorite video game series ever made, and it is criminally underrated amongst its contemporaries like the mouth-breathing Persona series. I also really love the Persona series. Please don't push me into a TV. I'm just kidding. And when I was deciding on what kind of video I wanted to make for the series, I started to think about the crazy theories that I have in regards to the games. If you don't know, all of the games are connected and are telling one big overarching story. Because the Trails series is seeped in lore and mystery, I tend to make these theories as I'm playing the games and talking to some of the NPCs or reading some of the in-game books and newspapers. Theories like, who is the first Anguis, although I think it's pretty obvious after Cold Steel 4, or what's the deal with Campanella, or what's the Septian Church's real goal, or why do we all believe in Laura supremacy? I actually think I know the answer to that last one.
Hey-ya!
A worthy opponent. Behold, the soul of Arcade! Now! Radiant Phoenix Blade!
Oh shit!
But the theory I decided to go with is in regards to a sort of what-if scenario. Basically, as you can tell from the title of the video, I will be theorizing which classes of Thor's military academy the members of Class 7 would be in if Class 7 had not been formed. I'm not the only one who has thought of this, right? Please tell me I'm not the only one who is constantly thinking about this every time I play the Cold Steel games. Before we begin, I would like to warn of minor spoilers for character origins for the old Class 7, and we'll throw in the new Class 7 for funsies. So if you don't want to be spoiled on where some of the characters come from or their social status, click off this video, play through the entire Trail series up to Cold Steel 4 at the very least. Trust me, it is well worth it, and come back here to see what I have to say. To set the scene, the Trails of Cold Steel games center around Thor's military academy, which is the most famous military academy in the Empire of Erebonia. The academy was founded by one of the Empire's most renowned emperors, Emperor Dracols. Erebonia itself is dominated by a class system, and Thor's reflects this. At the time of Cold Steel 1, Thor's was split into 5 classes, separated by social class and a student's home region. Class 7 was a 6th class made up of both commoners and nobles who had an affinity for the newly developed Arcus unit Orbments, made by the Reinford Company. Look, I know they skipped the number, that's a joke in-game. It's not confirmed, but I believe Class 6 was the unofficial denomination of the group comprised of Crow, Toa, Angelica, and George, who tested the Arcus units and the field studies the year before Class 7 was formed. The goal of Class 7 was to have the students partake in field studies throughout the Empire to gain first-hand experience on the problems plaguing it both socially and politically, and to inspire the students to put aside their differences, make lasting bonds, and find a third way for the Empire to move forward. For this particular exercise, we are assuming that Class 7 was never formed, and that the members would be placed within the classes that they would have been placed in otherwise. Within the game, we are told that the classes are selected by social status and the region of residence. Classes 1 and 2 are reserved for the nobility, while classes 3, 4, and 5 are reserved for the commoners. However, we are not explicitly told how the classes are split up beyond that, but we can do some digging based on NPC dialogue, and can use some good old old-fashioned, educated guessing in order to find an answer. For classes 1 and 2, I initially thought that they, like the other 3 classes, were split by region. However, Angelica and Patrick, as the children of 2 of the leaders of the 4 great houses who govern the major provinces of the Empire, are both in Class 1, albeit in different years. The issue is that Angelica is the daughter of Marquis Ragnar, who governs the Nortia province, while Patrick is the son of Marquis Higharms, who governs the Sutherland province. If we take a look at the map of the Empire, we can see that these 2 regions are exactly opposite to each other. I do not think the school would set up the regions this way. After some light digging, I realized that I was just being dumb, and that Class 1 and 2 are further split by social class. Class 1 seems to be for the children of higher ranking nobles, while Class 2 is for the children of lower rank. The Empire, despite being based on pre-World War I Germany, uses the class system of medieval England. Class 1 seems to be reserved for the children of dukes, marquises, and counts, which can be seen from Vincent and Ferris, who are both in this class, and who are the children of Count Florald. Class 2 definitely includes the children of barons, which is the lowest rank. We can see this from Margarita, who is in the class and is confirmed to be the daughter of a baron. An issue comes up with the rank of Viscount, as we don't have any proof one way or the other of which class this rank would be placed into. Logically speaking, it would make more sense for Viscount to be grouped into Class 2, as it would be weird to have Class 1 encompass 4 noble ranks and Class 2 only encompassing 1. So, with that all out of the way, I believe that Class 1 would be reserved for the children of dukes, marquises, and counts, while Class 2 would be reserved for the children of viscounts and barons. But we do know that the commoner classes are in fact split by region. The issue that we arrive at is that we don't have enough examples within these classes to make definitive regions for each. But we can guess. From Class 3, we know that Mint's home is in Ruhr, the capital of the Nortia province, and we can actually visit it in Cold Steel 1 and 2. Hugo, who is also in Class 3, mentions that his family lives in Heimdallr, the capital of the Empire, which sits at its very center. From Class 4, we have Casper, who hails from an unnamed town in Le Maire, which is the northwesternmost province. He mentions this in-game, and in order to recruit him in Cold Steel 2, you need to show him a newspaper that tells him of what is happening in the region. We also know that Toa, who is a second year at the time of Cold Steel 1 and 2, is in Class 4 as well. She also lives with her family in Heimdallr on Vesta Street, which is in the western half, as we can visit her home in Cold Steel 3. As for Class 5, we only know of Becky, whose home is in Keldic in the Kreutzen province to the southeast of the Empire. We can also visit her home in Cold Steel 1 and 2. So, if you know the geography of the Empire, you'll have noticed that we have a few problems here. Firstly, we don't have any confirmed commoner students from the Sutherland region, which is the southwesternmost province. We also have 2 classes that encompass the same region of Heimdallr, which is itself considered separate from the other provinces as it has its own local government and tax rates. The Heimdallr thing can be explained very easily. The city is massive, and it is one of the largest cities on the continent of Zemuria. So it is split into 16 districts, which are separated in half, 8 in the east and 8 in the west. The Vesta Street is on the western half of the city, which lines up with the Le Maire province, which is in the western half of the Empire. So Class 4 most likely consists of both the Le Maire region and the western half of Heimdallr. Likewise, the exact location of Hugo's home is not known, but assuming this analysis is true, it would place his home in the eastern districts, which would line up with the Nortia province for Class 3. Sutherland, on the other hand, is a bit trickier. It could be grouped in with either Le Maire in Class 4 or Kreutzen in Class 5. But considering that Class 3 and 4 both comprise 1.5 regions, it would make more sense for it to be grouped into Class 5 to even things out just a little bit more. So to recap, Class 1 is for the children of dukes, marquises, and counts. Class 2 is for the children of viscounts and barons. Class 3 is for students from Nortia and the eastern half of Heimdallr. Class 4 is for the students from Lemare and western Heimdallr. And finally, Class 5 is for students from Kreutzen and Sutherland. But where does that leave Class 7, I hear you ask? Give us Class 7, Pumpkin Man. All right, I'll give you, put down the gun, all right, man? Let's get started with the noble students of Class 7. Eustace is an easy one, as he is the child of Duke Albarea, the leader of one of the 4 great houses. So he is a shoo-in for Class 1. This can be further proven by the fact that Patrick actually mentions in Cold Steel 1 that Eustace should have been in Class 1 with them. Reen is another easy one for Class 2, being the adopted son of Baron Schwarzer. But Lara's situation is a little strange. She is the daughter of Viscount Arsaid, which would put her into Class 2. But there is a case to be made about prestige. Viscount Arsaid is one of the most respected swordsmen in the Empire, as the master of one of its 2 most renowned schools of swordsmanship, the Arsaid style. He is even known as the Radiant Blade Master. Because of this, she might be bumped up into Class 1 on account of her father's fame. There is really no evidence to point to this claim. Well, there's no evidence for any part of this video, but it does tie into something that I will go over in another scenario later. For now, I am pretty confident in saying that she would be in Class 2. For the commoner students, we have Crow, who is the easiest one to place as he was in Class 5 before joining Class 7. Machias and Elliot both come from districts in eastern Heimdallr, so they would be in Class 3. Alisa lives in Ruhr, which would also put her in Class 3. Emma is from Erin, which isn't technically a part of any region because of spoiler reasons, but I believe her paperwork would mark her down as being from Sutherland, so she would be in Class 5. Gaius is from Nord, which is not part of the Empire. However, it borders the Nortia province, so I believe it is likely that he would be placed in Class 3. Fee is a difficult one as she does not actually have a hometown. I think the most likely scenario in her case would be that Sarah would just mark her paperwork down as her residence being Trista. Trista itself is said to be in the Heimdall borough, but it is unclear if it is governed by Heimdall or by Kreutzen. I personally lean more towards Heimdall, so we'll say that she would be in Class 3. Millium is another strange case, as Class 7 was her main reason for enrolling. However, if we assume that she enrolled regardless, her place of residence would be Heimdall. We do not know where in the city the Intelligence Division's headquarters is, so she could be in Class 3 or 4. I lean more towards Class 3 as it is closer to Trista, but it is most likely that she would be placed in Class 5 because of big spoilers. We'll also throw in the new Class 7 for fun. Now by the time they enrolled into Thor's, it was already 2 years after the old Class 7 did, and they enrolled into the branch campus in Leeds. Now by this time, the entire class structure was completely changed. The branch campus classes of 7, 8, and 9 were based on specific skill sets of the students, while the first 5 classes of the main campus dropped the regional and social separation in favor of a merit-based system. For this particular exercise, we will be assuming that the members of the new Class 7 enrolled into the main campus at the same time or a year later than the old Class 7. For the noble students, Muse is the only one of the new Class 7 that is of a family of confirmed noble rank. Now I have to be careful here because of spoilers, but I'll just say that no matter how she enrolls, she would be in Class 1. Kurt is in an interesting situation, which ties back into that thing I mentioned with Lara. Kurt is the son of the Vander family, which has protected the Imperial family for generations as personal bodyguards. The Vander style is also the second of the Empire's 2 most prominent schools of swordsmanship. However, the Vander family does not have a noble ranking from what we know. This ties into the idea of prestige that I mentioned before. Being the guardians of the Imperial family is seen as one of the greatest honors in the Empire. And in the case of Mueller, Kurt's older brother, who attended the same year of Thor's as Prince Oliver, I do not think the school would have separated the two. This means that we can assume that Mueller was in Class 1 during his time at Thor's. Now for this exercise, we can go with two scenarios. One is that Prince Cedric enrolls alongside the new Class 7, in which case Kurt would likely be with him in Class 1. Or we can say that Cedric was not able to enroll with them, but Kurt was for some reason or another. In which case, I still think Kurt would be in Class 1, based purely on his family's prestige. Ash is another easy one, being from Raquel in the Lemaire region, so he would be in Class 4. Yuna, on the other hand, is from Crossbell, which would have put her in a similar situation to Gaius as an exchange student. Similarly, I think we can assume that she would be in Class 5 due to Crossbell's close proximity to Kreutzen. Finally, we have Altina, who, like Milliam, is dependent on a few things. One is where the Intelligence Division's headquarters is located inside Heimdallr. 2 is if she would be assigned alongside Milliam on her mission. And 3 is if she would be assigned with Reen instead. If we assume that she was placed based on the headquarters, then again I think it would be Class 3. If she were placed with Milliam, it would be Class 5, which I don't think is likely. And if she were placed with Reen, I do think Lecter would have pulled some strings and somehow got her into Class 2 despite her not being of noble birth. Although she could still support Reen while being in another class. Just as a quick aside, because I forgot to put this into my notes, but if we are running with the scenario that the new Class 7 enrolled the year after the original Class 7, then I think the most likely scenario is that Altina would just be placed in wherever Reen is at. So, after all of this research and guessing, we have our definitive answers, or as close to definitive as I can get. To give a quick recap, based on the scuffed as hell research that I did, we have Reen in Class 2, Alisa in Class 3, Elliot in Class 3, Laura in Class 2, possibly Class 1, but most likely Class 2, Machias in Class 3, Emma in Class 5, Eusis in Class 1, Fee in Class 3, Gaius in Class 3, Milliam in Class 3 or 5, I'm leaning more towards 5, Crow in Class 5, Yuna in Class 5, Kurt in Class 1, Altina in Class 3 or 2 if some strings are pulled. I think it's most likely she would be in Class 2 with Reen. Ash in Class 4, and Muse in Class 1. Just remember that I could have all of these wrong and none of this really matters except to satiate my own curiosity. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. It was a lot of fun to make. I don't know what took me so long with making a new video. I hope to not get to the point where I have this much of a gap in between videos again. I have quite a few more ideas that I think I can make videos on. And yeah, please tell me what you think of this theory. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you do disagree, let me know which classes you think I might have gotten wrong, where the characters would be. Also, if you have played the Trails series, let me know what your favorite game is. I know I'm very excited for the release of the Crossbell games in English for the first time. Officially, I mean. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and remember to always put Lara into your party and that Domination and Lone Wolf stack in Cold Steel 4. So, and remember to play Trails. This series is great, I promise. Just play the games. Play them. What are you doing? Play the games. Play the fucking games!